guys, it's your boy Uncle B with another episode of African Alive TV. Yes, guys, we're trying to be consistent on this channel too. Today we got the Red Blazer on. Like I said, this channel is all about June 16, which has inspired this channel, where the South African youth fought for the liberation of this country, and this channel will fight for the liberation of Africa. That's why we call it Africa Alive TV, because Africa is alive with possibilities. Now, guys, we are looking at what's happening in the west of Africa. Some interesting things have been happening in the last couple of months that, a lot of people are really not talking about, and I thought we should have a look at it.
Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger rejects ECOWAS and form their own alliance. Now, ECOWAS is a big group which consists of 15 West African countries. Now, these three West African countries, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, decided to reject and stay out of the ECOWAS because they were unhappy with it. Instead, these three countries are making their own group called the Alliance of Sahel States, and they met in Niger to talk about this. These three leaders signed an agreement on security, economic, and social matters, such as helping their people. Mali's president will be the first leader of this new group. And the most interesting thing is that they did this just before ECOWAS is set to have a big meeting in Nigeria. Now the question is, do you think these three countries did a good thing by breaking out of the ECOWAS to form their own alliance?
Simple answer is yes. Why do I agree with this? Is because what Mali, Chad, and Niger are trying to do is they're trying to break away from the colonial countries that are still colonized indirectly. As in, we are giving you aid, and in return you give us your natural resources. They're trying to take control over their natural resources. Now, a lot of people are saying that a lot of African countries can learn from what these countries are doing. Remember, when I talk about African unity, I always say, leave South Africa out of African unity. And this is a perfect example of why South Africa should be left out of African unity. South Africa is the only African country that somehow, some way, they found a way to live with their colonizers without being colonized and still having control of their land. Despite what the internet may lie to you, what Nigerians may say about South Africans don't own their land, they don't own their country, they do. And the reason, because why they own their country, this is why you see the economy flourishes and works and functions the way it does. Which is what Niger, Chad, and all Burkina Faso are now trying to do. Own their own natural resources so that they no longer have to abide by the colonial laws, where their natural resources are being sucked and they barely get anything. The little that they get only allows them to enjoy for themselves and not do any change for their country. Guys, this is extremely inspirational for the Western African countries who are looking to liberate themselves. Many countries still claim that South Africa is still going under apartheid, clearly because they've never seen what freedom looks like. Freedom is where you can walk with any race, any culture, just like in Europe. Europe has different races, different cultures, different countries within one space. But when it happened to South Africa, somehow we claim that South Africa is still colonized. That's not true. Freedom is where any nation, any culture, any race can literally live within, coexist with each other without anyone thinking that they are greater than the other person. And I'm beginning to see that these countries are beginning to see this. An example of when we did this video on Uncle P's podcast, where Ghana had given 300 white people, although it wasn't only whites, there were other races there, citizenship, because they've come to understand, instead of fighting each other, let's work together. Instead of making agreements where you give these people business visas, which may lead them to just manipulate the system and benefit their countries rather than your countries, make them citizens, therefore you can track the taxation that you charge them. I hope all this is making sense. Here at Africa Live TV, it's all about educating each other and understanding the way forward and how African unity is actually possible. African unity is possible if the struggling countries are working together. You cannot expect to unite in South Africa when South Africa is not needing the unity.
Burkina Faso's young leader is rejecting billions of dollars in foreign aid to gain greater independence for his country from the West. So is he just throwing billions of dollars away, or is this a smart, calculated move that could pay off down the line? Let's talk about it. Quick backstory. So the young leader of Burkina Faso took power last year in 2022, and he was offered billions of dollars in foreign aid from the Western world if he would just play nice with the Western special interests. And he told them no, and basically told them to get out of West Africa. Africa. The West is not used to being told no by an African leader, and that's because the foreign aid that they give has basically little oversight. So you can take the foreign aid and you can buy yourself a chalet in Switzerland if you're an African leader, as long as you do what the West tells you to do. So on paper, he gets a little bit more independence, but was it still a good idea for him to turn down billions of dollars that could have been funneled into Burkina Faso? I'm just going to talk the dollars and cents because I can't look at this through the lens of a West African because I'm not West African. I'm going to look at this through the lens.
First things first, he can't see this in the lens of West African because he's not West African. So he doesn't understand our pain, he doesn't understand our suffering, so he cannot see it in our view. So he's going to still give his view. Now you need to understand, they benefit from all the nonsense that they do to us. So of course they're not going to see it in our view. All they see is the fact that they are giving us a whole lot of money. But are you giving us a whole lot of money? What is the value of a dollar if your natural resources are taken away? Absolutely nothing. It is the natural resource that carries value, not money. Money derives from natural resources, and this is the one thing that these ignorant individuals think that we don't understand. So much for a Muzungu, right? You would think you would be smarter. Let's listen to him.
Of an investor in West Africa. And from that viewpoint, I think that the president of Burkina Faso is making a great decision to stay away from Western financing. As an investor, I think that West Africa needs to stay as far away from developmental loans and foreign aid as possible. But why? It's free money to build roads and...
I wanted to treat you guys to pay attention if you guys are paying attention. You see what I'm trying to tell you guys? You see, this is a white man. And you and I both expected him to say something negative because they benefit from it. But even they are understanding that the West, like politics, only politicians benefit. The average white person wants unity. He's tired of racism. He's tired of division. And these are the kind of people that we need to start working with. These are the kind of people that will walk into Africa and do what is good for everyone and not only themselves. Politicians are only there for politicians. They are not there for Africans. Let's listen.
Schools and hospitals and all these great things, right? No, it's not free money, and very little of it goes to help the local economy or build schools or roads or bridges or anything that they say that they're going to do. What it actually is used for is to control West African leaders and have them enter bad trade deals and deals which favor Western special interests instead of West Africa. If you're looking for examples of this, you can look at the trade deals in the fishing industry, in the timber industry, in the uranium industry, in the lithium industry, in the cocoa industry. The list goes on and on. Africa enters a lot of bad trade deals, and the reason they're in those deals is because the leaders were strong-armed by the prospect of getting that wonderful Western foreign aid. Quick side note, if you're a regular Westerner, you do not benefit from this exploitation. The money that's stolen from Africa goes through an international corporation to international banks to pay international special interests. It's an exclusive club, and you're not part of it. Now back...
You get it. The average person doesn't benefit. And they're beginning to realize it. You know why they're realizing it? Because Europe is now struggling. Europe is now feeling almost the same pain as we are feeling in Africa. Because we thought our natural resources, there's nothing they can do about it. The war between Russia and Ukraine really exposed a lot of things. Here in Africa, Alive TV, we will expose even more to show that we Africans can unite. But the way to unite is for those Western countries that are still colonized, that are pretending to have their independence since who knows how long, which is not true. If you look at the only country that truly got its independence, which is 31 years old, it is South Africa. A lot of the African countries are very much still colonized. We've got Zambia and certain countries that are bringing themselves out of colonial because they are taking their control over their natural resources. For as long as we keep signing deals with China, Russia, France, and all these other countries, you need to understand we are still very much colonized. I'm your boy Patrick Lindula, and I shall see you guys on the next episode of Africa Alive TV. Cheers.